I'm Lita Mae Button, motivational speaker and boxing coach. Welcome to the Dildo Dilemma Humor in the Face of Trauma podcast. If you're watching, thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit the Facebook like button. And if you're watching this on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Imagine being paralyzed by fear because each step you've taken forwards up to this point in life was blocked with obstacles that lived inside of you. Obstacles of doubt, insecurities, and feelings of abandonment. That was me from the age of 16 to 22. Then, bam, life sucker punched me, and I became a single parent to my son with a lifelong and at times life threatening blood disorder, hemophilia B. And I knew that I needed to deal with those obstacles to be strong and help him grow into a productive and well adjusted adult. And I began boxing competitively. And through one punch, one competition, and overcoming one fear at a time in that ring, I did it. I learned how to punch back at life, absorbing the shock of life's blows and channeling those blows into empowering myself, which helped me tackle those fears both inside the ring and outside of the ring, having a rippling positive effect into my everyday life. And it gave me the confidence to live life on my own terms, be the number one role model for my son and caregiver, and have the confidence to protect us if the need should arise. And in 2013, I won the Canadian Light Welterweight Golden Glove Championship in Canada. And in 2017, I was voted Fab Female Health and Wellness Entrepreneur of the Year in Greater Toronto Area. And as a motivational speaker and boxing coach, I do what I do because I believe everything is energy. And I know the end result when you're energetically empowered on every level of your being through health, movement, and boxing. Because when a woman takes back her power and steps into her power from the inside out, it has the rippling effect the rest of the world needs to heal. In fact, the worldwide economy shows that when a woman empowers herself, that it could potentially stimulate the economy here in the next year to make $28 trillion. So when a woman empowers herself, first and foremost, she shows and nurtures onto and into others what is possible. And it teaches us how to treat each other with love, kindness, and compassion. And the world needs that more than ever, especially when it comes to ending violence against women. And so if you're joining me and you're not sure what this podcast is about, that's what this is about. It is about creating humor in the face of trauma, bringing awareness, advocacy, and action taking, using a bit of humor, stories, and boxing analogies to help eliminate violence against women in Newfoundland and worldwide. And in case you're wondering why Newfoundland, well, two reasons. It's my home and it's my family's home. And I've learned that violence against women in Newfoundland is statistically higher than it is for the rest of Canada, with 1 in 2 women over the age of 15 experiencing a form of stalking or violence in their lifetime. And so I want to help make a lasting impression for my family now and grandkids that could be potentially in the future. And I know to make changes, we have to first focus on what's happening inside and closest to us. And so the second is that Newfoundland is just plain awesome. It's Canada's most eastern province that is an island to just over 500,000 people with its own time zone and name of towns and streets like Blow Me Down and Dildo. However, there's an imposter that came along in 2019 in our town of Dildo, Newfoundland by the name of Jimmy Kimmel, who's claimed himself as the honorary mayor of the town of Dildo, yet not once has he visited the town of Dildo or even stepped into Newfoundland for that matter. You can really call and say it's a Dildo Dilemma. Might be time for a woman to lead and make changes by nurturing instead of demanding leadership. Dare I say it? Hashtag Lita Mae Button, hashtag Mayor of Dildo, hashtag nurturing leadership. So, joining me today is my special and amazing guest, Joyce Kyles. So, Joyce is a powerhouse advocate, award-winning global speaker, two-time Amazon best-selling author, and she's spent over a decade using education and action to help end violence against women. As a master certified life and leadership coach and CEO of Joyce Kyles Consulting Limited, LLC, I might have said that wrong. Joyce blends live experience and professional training to deliver powerful, transformative messages that inspire change in boardrooms, classrooms, and communities across the United States, Europe, and Middle East. She's a certified expert in domestic violence, sexual assault, mental health first aid, and DEI. Joyce formerly served as the executive director of Walking into a New Life, helping countless survivors reclaim their lives through education, empowerment, and advocacy. And her work has been featured in the Huffington Post, Tri-State Defender, New Orleans Tribune, and much more. And Joyce collaborates with organizations like Torrell Institute for Social Change and Campus 51 in Egypt and holds leadership roles with the National Coalition of 100 Black Women and Forbes BLK. And so she is joining us here today as a proud mother and wife with her mission to be the change she wishes to see in the world. Thank you so much, Joyce, for joining us here today. It was so much. I feel like we could talk for 2 hours getting to know you a little bit more in the recent month. But for time's sake, I'm just going to dive right into it here. Can you explain why you said yes to coming on this podcast?
Sure. So, first of all, thank you for asking me to be a guest. Thank you for the work that you do, that just having the opportunity to really get to know you. Like you said, we could talk for hours, but we will keep it brief for the sake of time in this particular podcast. So, yeah, I guess I said yes for a number of reasons, but number one, you are just amazing, phenomenal. When you and I first met, and just listening to all that you do, all that you share, I was intrigued, I was inspired, I was motivated. So it was easy to say yes to you, your cause, all the things that you have talked about and shared in your journey, and this advocacy work. It is so powerful and meaningful, and I can hear the passion and the purpose that you have. So it was a no-brainer to say yes to you, say yes to the podcast, and just hoping to be able to share some gems that will be helpful.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that compliment. Thank you so much. So, how would you say that your story has impacted your not-for-profit business that you run?
So I have a for-profit, which is Joyce Kyles Consulting. My not-for-profit was Walking into a New Life, and I was the executive director and founder for it for 14 years. Recently dissolved it in terms of the organizational work, but not my advocacy and commitment to gender-based violence, to educating people about the importance of understanding the layers and the intersections of domestic abuse. And so I make sure that I am staying aware and abreast and keeping up with current information, trends, the statistics, all the things, because this is a global epidemic. And in terms of how it showed up, or how it has impacted my life, I started this work as a survivor myself, and making the transition from victim to survivor to thriver and overcomer, and advocacy and activism in this space. So it definitely is a part of who I am and how I came into the work. The impact that it has had on me has been phenomenal. I have truly found joy in the journey, not just in learning about my own strengths and my own self-worth and value, and really delving deeply into what it means to be holistically well, happy, and whole. And spending a lot of my coaching and speaking and training around wellness and well-being and self-care and, all the things and having the impact on me growing as a woman, growing as an advocate, growing as a business owner, growing as a nonprofit leader and teacher and trainer. I have been able to impact the lives of others in a positive way, and that has been truly a blessing. It is a newfound strength that I plan to hold on to for dear life. I have enjoyed this journey, even at sometimes when it's been low. We talk about ebbs and flows, we talk about peaks and valleys, and they're just a natural part of life and who we are. Because if you're living, you're going to experience, some sort of disappointment or trauma or challenges. And it's just been a great, impactful experience that has, I can't overstate it enough. It's really been good. It's helped me to grow. It's helped me to grow a business. It's helped me to reach out to individuals who are in the nonprofit space and be able to offer guidance and support and training to show them best practices on how to run their organizations, how to show up for those who may have experienced trauma themselves, or if they are in leadership, just doing my best to show up as a role model and an example of what life after can be and should be. So what does it mean to live the life that we desire and deserve as women and as individuals as a whole?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I feel like your words and your energy is very optimistic and joyful, and that like I am sure that has taken quite a bit of work over the years. So would you be able to kind of describe kind of like I love how you
Sure.
articulated you went from like victim to survivor to thriver and now you're advocating. So was that journey kind of like did you uncover the journey yourself, or did you have mentors and role models along the way? How did that journey look like for you?
Great question. Yes, it is a process. So I want to make sure that I am very clear that it is something that does not happen overnight. It happens over time. And I think that it's important to recognize that there are times when, even as you're going through this journey, I can certainly speak to it from a more I statement type of thing. When you're a coach, you're always taught to speak in I statements. So for me, it was about a series of things. Having coaches, mentors, people in my life that did show up for me and support my efforts to want to transition into something different, become someone else, or rather to go back to who I was before some of the experiences that I had. And I think that's important to lift up too, that I had to be reminded of who I was before I experienced, the trauma that I did, the experience, the abuse that I did, and rediscover parts of me again. And so everyone doesn't always have support system. And a lot of that has to do with us just being afraid to share with people that we are going through some sort of trauma, whether it's, in this case, we're talking about gender-based violence, we're talking about domestic abuse and the intersections of it, but any of the things that are going on in our lives that we consider to be traumatic experiences, poverty, homelessness, what have you, we're not always very forthcoming about wanting to share that information with people. We don't want to be perceived a certain way. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to be blamed. It's embarrassing and it's hurtful. So I definitely went through all of that. Definitely could have likely gotten more help and support had I spoken up sooner. And I just didn't. But you're not tired until you're tired. And when you're tired of it, then you will shout it from the rooftops, look, I need help, I need support, or you're put in a position where you don't have many other options but to say and to share. So for me, that looked like recognizing that I wanted something different and better for myself and my children, and being very intentional about reaching out to people that I felt that I could trust and say, hey, look, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I need help with, and being open to receiving help and support. And now being in a position where I get to pay it forward in a myriad of ways. So that's a little bit about, my journey and how I got there. So yeah, it definitely was a transition, and words matter. I think that's the other thing that I want to lift up
Mhm.
is I see myself as a thriver. I see myself as an overcomer. I see myself as an activist, an advocate, a supporter, a believer, a believer of others in their truth. And I didn't always see myself that way. So it was a process to build to that. But now that I have, yeah, I am full of optimism because I don't have any plans of ever going back into that life. And when I say that, I don't even mean physically, I mean just mentally, because it mentally is where it all started.
Mhm.
And, I always say if once a person gets your mind and they capture your mind, the body is easy.
Yeah.
It's the mind. And so I am in control of my mind and my thoughts. And that has helped to shape the way that I see things, how I view people, how I view myself, and how I approach my work.
Yeah, that is absolutely so powerful. Joyce, thank you for articulating that words do matter and words bleed into how we talk to ourselves and how we believe things and how we perceive life, and can create life for ourselves. As a
Yes.
coach,
Yes.
you know these things, right? But being the role model for a leader first and foremost, you have to show that. So you're anyone you're leading or clients, that they're gonna see and they're gonna feel it. Like, I always come back to, I've been doing a lot of energy education. I've always kind of on my
Yes.
journey done that, but even more so in the
Mhm.
last like couple months. And if we have that positive energy with our words first and foremost, it leads more of a healing effect, and you're a true testament to showing how powerful that is. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing that.
Sure.
Um,
Thank you.
so you run a domestic violence and advocacy program, correct?
I did. I teach it now more in the business space, but yes, absolutely.
Okay. So in the business space and that, why did
Mhm.
you decide to switch more into a business aspect as opposed to a domestic type aspect?
I started, in all honesty, having more businesses, companies, um, places that were willing to pay me for my time and my services and be able to offer it in a way that I couldn't do it organizationally,
Gotcha.
and showing up in that way. Because when I had my organization, it was really, really focused on how to bring community advocacy and tangible resources to
Mhm.
individuals impacted by domestic violence. So it was a lot more hands on and working hand in hand with survivors and getting those resources and hosting those events. It was very survivor centric. And so what I found was that there were more individuals who worked in, say, businesses or corporations or healthcare in schools and things of that nature that wanted me to talk with them from a leadership perspective. So that kind of made the shift. So it still allows me to be able to work with survivors in the ways that I desire and where my passion is, and fulfill a certain purpose with generating an income for myself, in some ways, again, that people are able to pay you and have you to show up and talk about things in a different way, in a different perspective.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that the different perspectives and different roles. So based on your experience in that, would you say that trauma and violence can affect anyone at any stage, culture, or class in their life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, it shows it has no respect of person, gender, orientation, age. I have spoken at an event where the children were as young as 7 to teens, talking about domestic abuse that they were seeing and experiencing in their homes, or with aunt, uncle, or grandparents, dad, mom, whomever. So I've seen it as young as 7, and in terms of my personal interaction, and as old or as senior, because I don't like to use the word old, so I say as senior as 70 plus. And so then there's that sector of individuals who are going through it or seeing it. And then you have, from, like I said, the more business aspect of it, looking at organizations, companies that actually want to hear, see, and understand what their employees may be experiencing, and how can they best show up for an employee that they suspect may be going through abuse. I do want to lift up that here, what we have seen in the States is that the number one reason that individuals stay in abusive relationships is financial.
Yeah.
Approximately 98, 99% of everyone who has gone through some sort of domestic abuse has also experienced financial abuse. And so it's really important for agencies, for companies, to recognize that plays a role in their retention rates.
Mhm.
And what does that look like? And so that's kind of brings back the point of why there's not necessarily a shift in the programming that I offer and the things that I talk about, but it definitely is different depending on the audience. So those who've gone through and they identify as victims. I don't like to call individuals who are going through abuse, I don't call them victims. I prefer to say survivors. But I also recognize and respect that there are women who have shared with me they don't see themselves as a survivor. And I said, okay, not yet, not yet. And we talk about that and talk
There's
through it.
a
So yeah, because words matter.
they do.
And so even if that's how a person sees themselves, I want to be as positive and optimistic in showing them a new path, which is why the organization was called Walking into a New Life, because I wanted you to see that it's a walk, it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight, but it is over time, and that I will walk with you. There are people who you meet, they will walk with you. And so, yeah, that's what it's looked like for me and the shift. And I hope that I am, making a difference, no matter whether it's for or nonprofit.
Oh, beautiful. I love like the language of empowerment and support. I will walk with you. Like that is absolutely very, very empowering and hopeful language. So thank you. Thank you for sharing just how much you're truly working and advocating and leading on many different levels and different stages of abuse that people and ages that people have experienced abuse. So I'm going to take a quick, like 1 minute educational break here, folks.
All right.
So Dildo Dilemma educational break about the town and the adult sexual toy. The town of Dildo has 3 islands, and the largest of those 3 islands is Dildo Island, and it made waves in the late 1800s as a groundbreaking site for the early aquacultural research. And this island is located at the mouth of Trinity Bay, Dildo Arm. So we have many different what we call bays and
Mhm.
inlets in Newfoundland, and Trinity is one of them.
Okay.
So in terms of the sexual revolution from the 1960s to the 1970s, the bedroom was broken wide open during the sexual revolution because conversations about pleasure, autonomy, and desire hit mainstream media, as did sex toys. And dildos surged in popularity with new materials like rubber and silicone, making them safer, more lifelike, and ready for spotlight. So that's a little bit of education, because that's what I love to do, educate people and entertain, um, about our town of Dildo in Newfoundland and the adult sexual toy. So,
Right.
Joyce, I have one more question for you because I realize your time is very precious right now. How do you go from helping women survive through trauma to thriving after trauma? And because you've really hit the point, and I do love that words do matter. So how does take us on that little bit of a journey?
Sure. First of all, I love your history moments. They definitely are.
We're not boring on this island, let me tell you. Okay.
I see it here. So the transition and how do I help people? So I do that, with speaking and coaching and those types of things. I love being able to offer coaching as a means of doing that. Um, but not just in the sense of, tell me how you're feeling and what you're doing, but I love to be actionable in that and helping individuals to see themselves, helping women to understand this need for work-life harmony and recognizing that even when you're going through trauma, that you mentioned about being a mom. I was a mom, well, still am a mom, but they're grown at this point here. So what does that look like? How do you show up? How do you show up with confidence and clarity and be okay with the challenges that arise when you are going from transitioning out of trauma and into a state of thriving. So, my form of humor, I guess, if you will, I don't know if you call it humorous or not, but I encourage artful things, like writing, like journaling. I do karaoke. Well, I'll say lip sync because karaoke requires you hearing the voice to hear. Yeah, and that is so not. No, that is not my calling. Not even in the shower. So, but I can lip sync like nobody's business, and I will put on all of the pieces, the wig, the makeup, and all those things, and I can be Prince, I can be Shaka Khan, I can be Mary J. Blige, like I can be Elton John. I love that. And that's when you find something that you enjoy that brings you joy, it helps with the thriving process so
Yeah.
that, as you are dealing with trauma, as you are working your way through the pain, then think about the things that bring you pleasure, the things that bring you joy, the things that used to bring you joy before, life started lifing, as the young people say. Um,
Life
so,
started lifing. I have heard of it, but I didn't realize it's an actual term now. Okay.
yeah, so that's how I show up. I do show up with it, with trying to help individuals to see the beauty and the value in themselves, that they are here for a reason. They are not here to merely just exist, but you're here to live and to thrive. And every day is a precious gift. So, what are we doing with that gift and how are we showing up with that gift? Someone needs the benefit of your testimony and your story, so if I don't do my part in showing up and saying, yeah, this was my experience and this is how I overcame. So I don't want people to ever see me or see you or see others who are thriving abundantly and think this cannot be me. I want to show you, the behind the scenes, like we talked about before this aired. I want you to see what the behind the scenes looks like and the work, the hard work and the heart work that goes into it, but it's beautiful on the other side. So I just want to help people to see that. And those are some of the ways that I do it.
So many. You can see that your words and your articulation of such powerful, joyful, optimistic, hopeful words exude in the way that you express yourself. and
Thank
help
you.
others go from surviving to thriving. So thank you for articulating that so much, Joyce. So
Thank you.
you said like the work, and this is so powerful. It's the hard work and heart work. So one of the things that I do as a coach, what I focus on a fitness base, but I do a smart heart so you don't fart coaching system to help people on their with their health goals. But it's the heart, the resonance and how we feel in our heart impacts us so much that we don't recognize. So that is so beautiful, from hard work to heart work. And the three kind of main things that I want to give you guys and reiterate here to everyone that's watching or watching the replay is that this is a constant theme as coaches that we say, but these are really impactful words that you've shared, Joyce, is that it's not overnight, it's over time, that healing. And words matter. The more powerful and uplifting our words, the more it's going to help our healing journey. And then it's the hard work and heart work. So that is just so beautiful. And joy, like the more that we can bring joy into our life, the more that life gets easy. We all know life is not easy, right? Like just for like as an example, because we're here live, we seem joyful and many people really appreciate that. But I've also heard some people say, "Oh, that's not like, for me," or "I could never be like that." But it's we all go through the hard stuff, but when we choose joy and you choose the action steps like you said, based on joy, it makes life that much easier and we can help others do the same. So thank you so much for sharing those um, points, Joyce. So quickly here before I end with a joke, where can everyone find you?
So if you go to my website, joycekiles.com, it is my name, all social sites, it's my name, Joyce Kiles. I primarily live on LinkedIn, but you can certainly find me everywhere from Instagram to TikTok. I am on there, but certainly, if you just go to my website, all my information is there, ways to connect with me, stay connected, YouTube, all the things. And the other piece I have to say really quickly is that I am an MMA enthusiast. Like I love it to no end. So that was the other reason when you asked the first question about my why is that I love boxing and I watch it, women, men, all the things. And so that was definitely intriguing for me to meet you and to learn you were a world champion. That's like so awesome, so incredibly awesome. But yes, everyone is surprised to learn how much I love MMA. So so I
That's
want to end
great.
with that. So yeah, you may look up and see me at the Apex Center at UFC or something at some point. That's the goal. But I've been in the gym. I've actually been in Randy Couture's gym,
Oh,
my
nice.
husband and I. So we took pictures in there and all the things. And people were like, would someone force you to do that? I was like, no, it brings me joy to watch people fight.
There's a lot of, it looks violent, like, but people don't realize the amount of discipline and mindset work that goes into all of it. It doesn't
Yes, yes.
just happen. It's not, there's so much control and discipline to it. So,
Yes, and I wanted to lift that up too because I think that
yeah.
that's important when we're talking about, this work and advocacy work, the discipline and the consistency in it all. You just stay true to it and knowing and believing what's on the other side of going through the hard work to get to it. You know you're a champion yourself, so you know the work that goes into it. But yeah, that I just want to lift that up. But yes, joycekyles.com is how you can find me.
Awesome, Joyce. Thank you. So before I say adieu here to log off, I just want to end with a little bit of humor, a little bit of a joke. So what's a dildo's favorite workout?
Don't know.
Dildo's favorite workout. Deep lunges. It's all about
Oh,
penetration of movement. So I absolutely love that joke. That's
oh,
my new favorite
righty.
joke. So thank you so much again for joining us here, Joyce. And I hope everybody uh, got some valuable information out of this. So make sure that you like on Facebook, share with anyone that you feel that could use this message, and make sure to subscribe on YouTube. So thanks again, Joyce, and have an amazing rest of your day, everyone.